What's going on, guys? We are back. We are heading towards the Copenhagen LAN. It's coming up very, very soon. I'm actually leaving very, very soon in like 2 days. So we need to figure out what questions need to be answered at this LAN. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of questions, and most of those will get answers at this LAN. And then, a month later, people will be like, well, did they do it again in spring? But yeah, for now, what needs to be answered? And let's just go through it. And if you have any questions that you think that you want answered at this LAN, then write them down in the comments below. Like and subscribe, I guess. I don't do that often, so why not? Anyway, let's get into it. Let's look at some questions that I thought of that I want answered at LAN. And a lot of them are going to come down to the roster change team. So let's just get right into it. We'll go into questions. Like I'm going to just type these out as we're talking about it, but the number one question is, have the super teams caught up to Europe? That is my number one question that I have, because Europe was way, way ahead of everyone last year, at the end of last year. They made a long off season, so maybe some of that will just be because of player fatigue or players getting better or worse. Maybe that will matter a little bit. But at the end of the day, all the other regions really formed these super teams. You could look at NA with G2 and Gen.G. You can look at Furia and SAM. You can look at MENA as well, too. So all these regions move players around, but a lot of them consolidated talent a lot. Even OC with power. So will that matter? Will Europe be just as dominant as they were before? I think that is a question that we need answered, because I think a lot of people are right now power ranking everyone, and like some people don't like that Europe is rated so highly, while others have dropped Europe out. And I think there's somewhere of a middle ground there, right? Because Europe deserves that respect. Even if they look bad in their region, they deserve a very high power ranking slot because Europe has honestly just dominated. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think that is the number one question, right? How do these new form teams compete versus Europe? And maybe not even just K Corp. It's more of like across the entire board, right? They have a lot of teams going that like have question marks around them, like Gentlemates, question marks, Vitality, huge question marks, which will lead into my next one. And BDS, obviously, they're always right there, but they never win. But we'll see how the super teams, like if they don't catch up to K Corp, which like K Corp is obviously a huge favorite here, but do they catch up to the rest of Europe? So we'll see how that plays out. Next up, my next question, as we talked about, will Vitality bounce back on LAN? Is my next question, because sure, it was a bad split. Like honestly, I would say a miserable split for Vitality after becoming world champions and winning back-to-back LANs, but they are back-to-back LAN champions. So you have to think that they got some secret sauce ready for the LAN. We'll see if that plays out. Will they be bumped up into the K Corp territory of favorites? And I think we'll kind of find that answer out maybe on day one even. If Vitality just comes out and cleans house 3-0, 3-0. It's really their round 2 game. It depends on who they get. But then you can be like, all right, they are a real threat, because LAN is different than online, but we'll see if Vitality has kind of found that form again. It's going to be a little bit different, obviously new coach and all that, but I think that is a question mark of, have they found it or have they completely lost it, is my question. Next up, we got, this is probably more of a me question, because I honestly feel like Gen.G is the most disrespected team right now in the power ranking tiers. Everyone's putting out these power ranking tiers, and literally everyone pretty much has Gen.G a lower tier than G2, which I honestly do not understand. They beat them twice in the last regional. Like, if you want to say that G2 didn't try that hard, then I'm just going to say like NA mentality needs to change, because G2 should be trying as hard as they possibly can. But Gen.G just beat them twice. They should at least be on equal tiers. They like, if you want to power rank G2 ahead, that's fine. But it would be like one spot. It's like 1A, 1B, right? They're absolutely on the same tier of play. So I want to know, is Gen.G an actual challenger to the throne, right? To that first place spot. Because obviously there's all the European teams. Then you have all these other like super teams that people are rating kind of highly, Falcons and Furia. But Gen.G, I think, is right along with all of them. And I want to see what they bring to this tournament because I honestly do I think they are the most disrespected team at this event. They should absolutely be on the same tier as like the Furia, the Falcons, the G2, the Gentlemates, the possibly Vitality, like that type of tier. But we'll see if it all plays out. Next up is we're gonna keep with probably mostly the super teams, but will Furia like find that 22 form that they had? I think it was 22, right? Like at the World Championship because now is the time, right? Last year was miserable. It was not good. The 22-23 season, I guess, if you want to clarify. But before that, there was moments. Obviously, it's a brand new roster, basically, but I think people expect Furia to elevate back up to that form, and they should be a contender for a top 4 spot. But at the same time, SAM last year, miserable. Furia last year, miserable. They did make, finally, that spring major, but then they didn't do well there either. So, a lot of question marks around Furia. I'm not sure if the answers are they absolutely will hit those 22 levels. I think that has to be answered. I think there is a world where they drop out before top 8. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But SAM in general, like I get it that Fury and Complexity are coming from the NA side back to SAM, but it's still like SAM wasn't that great before. So even though Fury and Complexity kind of swept out, well, they should have, right? Because SAM was terrible last year. So we'll see if Furia and Complexity both, like honestly, have a chance against the world's best. I think that is a major question going forward. Next up, we'll go over to OCE. So sometimes I'll be capitalizing things, sometimes I won't, because that's just how I rate things. Power, are they legit? I don't know. Like honestly, like OCE, they haven't done anything for what 3+ years. Power finally dominates. Like usually OCE is like they trade wins a lot. And there's usually like 3 teams in that power struggle for number 1. But now clearly Power is number 1. They are OCE's champion. I feel like they have to show something. Like it's like I think it's an uphill battle still. Like if I had to bet, are they top 8 or not? I'm definitely taking not. But I would love to be proven wrong because Power, they finally dominated OCE. There is that one team in OCE. Can they do it against the world? We'll have to find out. And honestly, like right now, I would be on the side of no, that they're not there. But I want to be proven wrong. So we'll see how it plays out. Next up, a little bit more of a, I don't know, like a lower end question. But can Elevate, KCP, or Limitless be competitive? And I think this is a question that there's a bottom tier, right? Maybe Elevate can beat KCP. It's possible. Maybe Limitless could even beat KCP. But can any of those 3 challenge literally anyone else here? That's a question in the Swiss, probably in the early days, the 0-2, the 1-2 rounds. See if they can be competitive. Right now, I'm trending towards probably not. But, again, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love it to be way more competitive. Love to see a huge upset round 1. Well, like, why not? Let's do it. Let's cause some chaos. And then finally, I think that this is always a fun question, and that this one will be answered, I guess, like at LAN. I don't know. Will any team implode at the LAN? That there's always bad vibes for like one team, and then they play worse, right? There's like the G1s and things like that, where like a team just coming into the event, just bad vibes, right? Right now, it doesn't seem that way, but when you get to LAN, you never know. Then we start hearing those rumors because everyone's talking, right? So the casters get word of rumors and stuff, and you're like, oh, I wonder if he actually knows that or not, you know? And then when they do find out, which has happened before, you know, Space Station and all that, will a team just completely implode at LAN? And it has definitely happened before, where that's where you start to see those underdog picks have a shot. Maybe the elevates, the KCPs or limitlesses. If they get up against one of these teams that is kind of just checked out mentally, it's possible, right? So we'll see if that happens to any team. Hopefully, every team is hunky dory and everyone's happy and that, like everyone's having a good time. But we just don't know. And usually there's at least one at every LAN that kind of just implodes halfway through the tournament, and then they got to just play, but they don't even care anymore. And we'll see how it all plays out. But let me know if you guys have any more questions about this. Obviously, there's like a question for every team, right? Like a G2 and all that. Is K Corp that big of a favorite? Yada yada. But any other ancillary questions that you want answered, let me know. It's gonna be a fun event. We're gonna see how it all plays out. I think the Swiss is gonna be grueling time, but we'll see if these players can compete at the highest level when it matters most, when they have long days and all that. And then when the crowd gets involved, that's a whole nother factor, and it's gonna be good. It's our first tournament since August. So what is that? 8 months, something like that. I don't know. I can't do math. I guess 7 months. So you never know. Players change skill level all the time, so we'll see how it all plays out. I'll probably do a power rankings that I'll record here, but that will be shown during the major week while I'm out there. But I do want to watch a little bit more tape before I finalize that. So before I do that, just hold on a bit. But yeah, that'll do it for me for today. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in Copenhagen. Goodbye.